morning. Thank you for being here. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce everybody who's here present at the press conference. To my left, as I'm sure you know, is Chief Kenneth Caluzzi of the Lower Makefield Township Police Department, and to his left is Deputy Chief Bob Lewis of Lower Makefield Township Police Department. Behind is, from the left, County Detective Tim Campbell. To his right, Detective Sergeant Brian Omler of the Lower Makefield Township Police Department. I failed to mention Detective Campbell is with the District Attorney's Office. And then to his right is our coroner, Patty Campy, Bucks County Coroner. And directly behind me is my colleague, A.J. Garabedian, who is the prosecutor assigned to the case, and Rebecca Vanderwerth, who is the second chair prosecutor assigned to prosecute this case. And to her right is Chief Martin McDonough of the District Attorney's Office, County Detectives. And behind Chief McDonough, to his right, is Detective Peter Lang of the Lower Makefield Township Police Department. And behind him, Detective Dante Montella, my colleague from the District Attorney's Office, County Detectives. Yesterday, we charged Trevor Weigel, 23 years of age, for the murder of Jaden Batista. Jaden was only 19 years old. Weigel and Batista were former partners in a relationship that had recently ended. They dated for approximately 2 months. The relationship recently ended, and obviously they remained amicable. On Friday, officers from the Lower Makefield Township Police Department were dispatched to 2507 Waterford Road in Lower Makefield. It was on Friday the 16th at approximately 2:22 p.m. following a 911 call of a burglary in progress. It was reported that a white male was attempting to enter the residence through a first floor window. When the first officer arrived, as he was pulling up to the residence, he observed a man standing outside of a red Mustang with the door open. Before that officer could exit his patrol vehicle, he saw this male chase a female, subsequently tackle her, and begin to stab her. Obviously, that officer immediately approached in an effort to try to stop the attack and to render aid. The male then fled, gave chase. He actually scaled a fence, and other officers, one in particular, punched through the fence to apprehend the male. While the male gave chase, he was observed stabbing himself in the neck. The officer who first responded attempted life-saving measures to the victim, Jaden Batista, but was unsuccessful. Ultimately, she was transferred to St. Mary's Medical Center, where she succumbed to her injuries. The male that fled, that scaled the fence where officers were able to apprehend him, was subsequently tased and taken into custody. And on the path of travel where he ran from his vehicle to attack the female, was discovered a knife that was consistent with the knife used to stab Jaden Batista. The male was identified as 23-year-old Trevor Weigel, and as mentioned, the victim was identified as 19-year-old Jaden Batista. Weigel was treated for his injuries and is presently being treated for his injuries at St. Mary's Medical Center, however, is expected to survive. Yesterday, he was arrested for the murder of Jaden Batista, and Judge Michael Petrucci denied bail. Our hearts go out to the victim's family in this case. They're suffering an unimaginable, senseless loss. This case serves as a reminder that one can never fully appreciate the lethality of a situation when enduring domestic violence. If you or someone you know is in a domestic abusive relationship, please call for help to the numbers we've provided. But our thoughts also go out to the officers who responded, and in particular, the original responding officer who witnessed Jaden's murder. It is my understanding that he served 2 tours in Iraq, then worked as a police officer in the city of Philadelphia in a high crime area, and then came to work for the Lower Makefield Township Police Department, where we're privileged to have him. As you can imagine, there is vicarious trauma often that occurs when officers respond to such an unimaginable scene, so our thoughts are with all of the officers who responded as well. I'm going to turn it over to Chief Caluzzi, and then we'll take any questions you may have.
Thank you, District Attorney. Sure, appreciate that. First, I want to offer my condolences to Jaden's family on behalf of the District Attorney's Office and the Lower Makefield Police Department. As the district attorney said, it was a horrendous, horrible incident. Just imagine the first police officer responding to this situation. He pulls up on the scene, he sees a male brutally and violently stabbing a young 19-year-old female. He tries to take every measure he can to save her life, while other police officers give chase to this coward who was running from the scene. Amazing police work, amazing. So I just want to offer, like, as the DA did, my proud comments to the officers that responded and their heroic efforts. So that's all I have to say, and if you have any questions, we'd be happy to take them at this
How
point.
many times was she stabbed, do we know?
Well, we think that she was stabbed approximately 15 times with two vital blows, one to the neck, carotid artery, and one to the aorta.
Had he been threatened, do you, any sense from her family whether he had been threatening her during the 2 months that they had been broken up?
Well, there's some indication, but we don't want to go into that right now and talk about what the DAs know and what our detectives uncovered during this investigation.
Was there any protection from abuse order?
There was no protection from abuse order.
You said he's charged with murder generally, first-degree murder? It appears that he went there.
We traditionally charge murder generally, which covers first degree, second degree, and third degree murder. And in this particular case, obviously, we will argue that this is a first degree murder, premeditated with a specific intent to kill. And when you have a deadly weapon on a vital part of the body, it's pretty evident that this is a first degree murder.
Had Batista ever called police on Weigel?
I'm sorry?
Had Batista ever called police on Weigel?
As mentioned by the chief, we are not going to answer specifics as to the investigation as it's still unfolding and will continue to unfold. But again, just reminding the community that if you know someone who is in an abusive relationship, please seek out help.
Do you know how, so he tries to get into the house, but when the officer arrives, he's out of the house, she's out of the house with him. Do you know how that happened?
Well, what we do know, and it's particularly heartbreaking, is that Jaden was on the phone with a friend. She had called a friend and she indicated, I believe, Trevor's trying to get in the house. And that friend ended up being the 911 caller. We know that friend actually heard what sounded like disruption in the home and then heard Jaden's voice be muffled. So that friend is an ear witness to the events that led up to Jaden's homicide. As it relates specifically to how she ended up being outside the home, again, our investigation is still pending.
The car door was open when police, the Mustang was open when police arrived. Was Jaden in the car or was
No.
she out of the car?
No, excuse me, the Trevor was standing by the Mustang. If I was,
Right.
yes, and Jaden
Was
was initially, sorry Joe, but Jaden initially was not seen. And obviously this is unfolding in real time for this officer, and as he's looking into his passenger side mirror, he sees a young woman run and then sees this individual that he had no reason to believe was associated flee. And like I said, this unfolded right before him despite his valiant efforts to try to intervene and then obviously render aid.
Was there anyone else home that witnessed this?
I don't, no one else was home at the time.
You also have the benefit of not just that friend, but body camera where he made statements.
I can't speak to the statements, the rules prohibit me from doing so, but obviously details will unfold as we prosecute this case.
Was there body camera though? Was anybody wearing a body camera that was engaged?
Yes, there are body cameras that were worn that day.
Is there anything else that you can tell us that would indicate, because I understand that there are some details that can't be released right now, anything else that would indicate to you what makes this a domestic violence situation other than just their prior relationship?
I mean, whenever someone's in an intimate or romantic relationship, you know, there are other factors that we consider that sometimes makes them more vulnerable and perhaps maybe makes it challenging to assess, you know, where that line is. And she was a very young child. I mean, this is a parent's worst nightmare, a family's worst nightmare. You know, it's what we try to prepare our children to be aware of. But again, our thoughts are just with the family on this.
You know, 19 and 23 seems like such a waste. And I know we always say, and we hear on our side of things and your side of things, that when the breakup happens, it's the most dangerous time for the victim here, and that the victim should get help, but surely there are people on the other side of this that see when the other person is spiraling. Isn't there some responsibility for them too to, call police and let you all know that this person could be a danger?
I can't speak to that. What I can say is domestic violence touches everyone. I mean, regardless of socioeconomic levels, regardless of education, regardless of age. So it's hard because what I want to be clear is we are not at all suggesting any failure on Jaden's part. How could one ever imagine someone they love would do this to them after, quite frankly, only a very short relationship? So, it's just a wake-up call to, remind the community that this is real. Domestic violence is real.
How long were they broken up?
Roughly 2 months, it's my understanding.
So they had a 2-month relationship and they were broken up 2 months by the time
Correct.
this happened?
Yes, correct.
DA, what do you make of the spate of domestic violence? East Lansdowne was domestic violence.
Yeah.
A son kills his father, beheads him, it's domestic violence. In Minnesota, 2 cops and a firefighter, domestic violence. What's going on?
Chief McDonough and I were literally just having that conversation this morning, and again, it's just a wake-up call. We have to continue to, so Jaden's death isn't in vain, to highlight awareness. It's hard to say what is happening, but we need to be more aware and get the word out again that there is help, and that's why we provided the contact information.
Jen, just to clarify, she was in a relationship with Trevor for 2 months, and they had been broken up for 2 months.
Correct.
This is for Chief Paluzzi. A lot of people may be afraid to go to the police if they start to see signs of domestic violence, either in the attacker or the potential victim. Could you share some things that people could do that might be an intervention before police have to be involved?
Well, there should be police involvement immediately. They should come to the police department, they should report that, and have police walk them through the system and tell them what the advantages are of seeking help in those situations. As far as what the victims or what the family members see, if you see an emotional change in an individual acting differently than they normally do, probe a little bit, ask some questions, find out why.
Who lived in the home with her?
We believe that she was staying with her grandmother.
Do you know how many wounds Mr. Weigel had on his neck?
I don't know.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
We appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.